Welcome everybody to the inaugural episode of my blog, chicanXperience. I'm your host, DX. Um, I'm really happy to be bringing this recording to everybody. It's been a long time coming for me to come up with my own blog that kind of focuses on brown artists, indigenous artists, Chicano artists, and this new landscape of music because as I've shared with my guest here today, we're really killing it right now, and I just hope that more folks are paying attention to it. When I was thinking of my first artist to bring to interview today, I was thinking of somebody who spoke true to kind of the scope that I want for the blog, somebody who was local to me, somebody who speaks for the community and kind of shares those values. And one of the folks I wanted to, and the person who just kind of came to mind for me goes by the name of Jaguar. On social media, he's Jag Arreola. And you might know him as an artist who really speaks his mind about the issues of today, who's not apologetic about his culture. And I just want to bring him in and have him do his own introduction and let y'all know who he is. So Jag, just let us know, man. You know, if can you first of all, how you doing, man? You good?
I'm good, bro. Thank you so much for having me. And first and foremost, I want to say congratulations on starting your podcast, your blog.
Thank you.
I know the efforts and the labor that you put into it. I'm pretty sure it's a lot. So, I salute you and I congratulate you. And it's an absolute honor to be your first guest on here. So
Appreciate you, comrade. Appreciate you, man. Yeah, man. So just let folks know, who you are. We'll start with the basic introduction. Anything that I missed.
sure, no problem. Peace, everyone. So my name is Jaguar Arreola. I'm from the Inland Empire. This is where I grew up. Inland Empire, for anyone who's listening who might not be from the Golden State, from Cali, wherever you are, I'm from an area roughly about 1 hour east of the downtown Los Angeles buildings. In the San Bernardino County, but the Inland Empire is also the Riverside County. So shout out to all my people
That's right.
from the 951. Appreciate you guys. So yeah, I have a lot of love for the IE. I always rep it super tough because I feel like it's a community that's kind of just, it's a hidden gem, man. We're right in between, the huge counties of San Diego, Los Angeles, who I got a lot of love for as well.
Mm-hmm.
I've performed in Los Angeles a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm from the Inland Empire. I'm very, very proud of it. This is where I learned to read and write. This is where I went to, where I got my education, whether it was just the basics in elementary school, middle school, and then also my political education that I learned from my comrades, from my community members, just through my own self-education as well. But again, I'm from the Inland Empire of California, the West Coast. So if you're listening internationally, I'm on the West Coast of, the so-called United States, which is a settler colonial project. But my heritage, my roots go back to south of the colonial border in Mexico, which is the territories of the Purepecha people who are living, breathing, and, resisting colonialism today in Michoacan, what is today Michoacan in Mexico.
Right.
And I also have heritage in Guanajuato, Mexico, which the specific heritage that I come from in that region is Otomi, and I'm very proud of that background. I carry it, very proudly in my heart, in my spirit, in my mind, and just, as a descendant, as a living, breathing Otomi, Purepecha, I do see myself as that because that's a part of me. Although I didn't grow up with those traditional ways, it's always going to be a part of who I am. It's in my DNA, in my build-up, and the codes that make up, my anatomy and my biology. So, again, I come from Mexican background, Chicano, Chicanx, indigenous, native, First People, First Nations. These are all identities that I identify with, and they're identities very complex, and I touch a lot on that in my music, which we're gonna get into later. But
Right.
Again, I'm from the Big IE, the Inland Empire, from the windiest city in the Inland Empire or in the San Bernardino County, I'll let people figure that out. But I'm, again, like, I'm from a community of workers, the working class, la clase obrera, the proletariat community, and, migrants, I'm saying, people of color. In the neighborhood where I grew up, I don't really remember seeing really white people.
Right.
The only white people I saw were the sheriffs, paramedics that came into the neighborhood in ambulances, or the teachers,
Right.
But my community was, you would think you're in, a little Central America or a little Mexico, and that's the best way I could describe it. It was a migrant community, a Spanish-speaking community, I think when I was growing up, we called it, ELD, English Language Development. So, you get pulled out of class to go to those classes because, a lot of us grew up speaking Spanish at home first, because the people in my neighborhood, my homies, were Mexican, we were, Chicano, Honduran, Salvadorian, and Guatemalan, and Nicaraguenses specifically. Those are the specific culturas and nationalities that I remember.
Right.
Most of us, beyond the nationality, beyond those flags that are part of our culture, we're first people to this continent, the First Nations, regardless if we've been detribalized, which we'll talk about as well, right?
Right.
It's a little bit about me, though,
Yeah, I appreciate that, Jag. Yeah, that's great, man, because, it's definitely, when you talk about those worlds, it's definitely what I hear in your music, and it's those intersections of life and everything. On a musical level, who would you say, who influenced you as an artist, and how did you get started rapping yourself,
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So I gotta say, I said this before in one of my homeboys, or somebody very, a comrade of mine named Rob Camacho. He's from Step Off Radio, outstanding Chicano journalist as well, out of the San Diego County. I said this in one of his interviews, but I would like to share it here as well. The first, big influence in rap, hip hop, was Eazy-E. Eazy-E was my first, basically, just somebody I admired a lot, and he had been dead for a long time, for more than a couple years before his music came into my my space,
Yeah.
So to me, it just kind of shows how powerful music is, man. Someone had been deceased for such a long time, but his art, his creations, withstood time, and eventually found my ear. And I gotta say, I probably wouldn't have ever picked up a pen and put the pen to paper to write lyrics if it wasn't for the inspiration that I got from, just hearing, listening to that.
That's
so
crazy.
A lot of NWA, a lot of NWA, and someone stole my mom's car one time, and the reason I came across NWA and Eazy-E, it was because when we found the car was really old, so it kind of they weren't gonna get far, so whatever, they left the car behind. When we found it a couple blocks down from where it was stolen from, there was a CD case in there, like so many CDs. And one of the ones that was in there was the Easy Does It CD. and man, that was it. I had actually All Eyes on Me in there, Tupac, DJ Quick CD in there, just some real classic West Coast music, just straight up gems. And that's kind of how I was introduced to hip hop to a certain degree.
That's crazy.
Although before that, where I would usually hear like hip hop and it would catch my attention, it was mostly like when I was at the store, and then they would play kind of like the commercial, like the commercial hip hop that was out at the time,
right?
Which I enjoyed some of it as well, don't get me wrong, but it was really like, it was those CDs of, the guys that had, that had been long gone, Tupac, Easy, and yeah, man, I started listening to Eazy-E, started wanting to wear a Raider hat because I knew there was pictures of him, wearing Raider hats. I had a picture of him on my MySpace at the time. I was in 8th grade. I wanted a Ben Davis shirt because I saw him wearing the Ben Davis shirts.
Right.
And it's just the curiosity of a young kid. But MC Ren definitely part of NWA. And later on, what really, I wrote rhymes here and there as a kid. nothing serious though, But like some of the other artists that I listened to like as a young kid was like Game, Snoop, MCA, Toker from the Brown Side, rest in power.
Right.
50 Cent. Um, let's see, Cam. A lot of West Coast. I was very West Coast influenced.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, most of the like where I really got my inspiration from to want to rap myself was listening to Immortal Technique, and to this day, that's the artist that has had the most influence in my own personal life, and then just wanting to create, just that.
Right.
Immortal Technique, he's really good people, man. I've met him more than a couple times at his shows. A very giving, comrade. His music, I'm sure you're aware of it. Very educational, very powerful, very anti-colonial. But listening to him, I got introduced to more revolutionary-minded artists like Chino XL, CF, who's a dude named Constant Flow. He's from New Jersey, Jersey City. I love his music as well. If anybody is listening, you guys check out CF, Constant Flow from Jersey City. Diabolic, Rebel Diaz, Psycho Realm, Vinny Paz, King Little G. I like King Little G. I like Conejo. Fat Joe, listen to him a lot. Jadakiss. In more recent times, I listen to Apathy. I really like Apathy's music. I don't know if you're familiar, but shout out to everybody, man. Much, all the people that have influenced me. Big L, Boosie, X-Rated, Brother Chung, all them,
Wow, bro. Yeah, bro. That's crazy, man. So you done came up blessing in disguise off that that pack of CDs and stuff, huh?
That's right. Yeah, for real.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. Just continuing on, man. So going with the content in your music, you spoke about Immortal Technique, and I can definitely see that. I can definitely see, the political, the social influences in your music and stuff like that. And so for, anyone who listens to you knows that you're about your culture and knows that you're about a very specific political ideology, which is anti-colonial, which is anti-imperialist, which is, decolonizing. And so can you tell us about your path of self-knowledge? You told us about your musical journey. So what's your path of self-knowledge for you and how you got it to be more self-realized from the start of it to now?
Yeah, thank you for the question. So, it's definitely tied into the music for sure. Again, politics and things like that. My dad was very political growing up. He's a worker, factory worker, warehouse worker. That's how he took care of our family and, made sure we were able to, have shelter, food, and clothing, right, which are essentials that we should be guaranteed.
Right.
And he was always very aware. He was, a straight up izquierdista, leftist. He was, he taught me about men like Che Guevara, Fidel Castro, Genaro Vasquez, Lucio Cabañas, which are two Mexican revolutionaries from the state of Guerrero, which I also have heritage from my father's, biological father's side.
That's hard.
I'm very disconnected from that root, but regardless, it's a lineage that I haven't tapped into, but that I carry also. So yeah, Genaro Vasquez, Lucio Cabañas, Victor Jara, so many revolutionaries from Latin America, from south of the colonial border, man, whether it was the Caribbean or Central America, Mexico, South America. He made me aware that these people were people that fought for our collective freedom as people from that diaspora, from Latin America.
Right.
My dad's a very proud Mexicano, he's very proud of his heritage. He always wanted us to identify with our Mexican heritage and never to identify with our American, identity, because, he kind of always educated me and my brother and told us, like, they don't like you guys here, bro. They're never going to like us here. So we should never kind of like bow down to them.
Right.
We should never be proud Americans because we lose our identity when we choose to identify with that. We lose our, what people have worked so hard to keep for us,
Right.
especially, he's a migrant, so, his experience is a lot, very different than mine, because he didn't know English at the time, things like that. So he always educated me on, to a certain degree, to whatever he knew, about leftism, izquierdista. He always said, we are anti-capitalist. So like I grew up being aware of shit like this, and right. Not a lot of my, community members, comrades that I know were, so it was an honor and it was a blessing to kind of just be put up on game and laced up with some really militant-minded thoughts as a youth, So I remember like being in high school, bro, and like telling the homies like, I'll never fucking pledge allegiance. That shit, to me, that why would I pledge allegiance to that? Like, they don't even like us here. It wasn't even on the, I'm indigenous tip or I'm anti-capitalist tip. It was just more so just remembering those few gems that my pops told me that, like, they don't want us here, bro. Like, that's why they're deporting us. That's why they always deport our people. That's why they harass us for speaking Spanish. Like, we're not treated fairly here. We're second-class, third-class citizens in this country.
Right.
So we shouldn't be proud of that. So it was, those seeds, I carried them forever, bro. And still to this day, like, I didn't, my pops didn't need to tell me that for me to experience that shit. I experienced it on myself eventually, just like I didn't have to go to college to learn about fucking that racism exists, right? Like I'm an indigenous person, in the United States, I'm gonna experience it, I've experienced it. So, I didn't need a textbook to inform me about that, and I didn't need a white guy. I didn't have to pay tuition to a white guy professor to teach me that, I'm oppressed. You know what I'm saying? So, but to answer your question completely, it was definitely a lot of my dad's, ideologies. Just what he learned. He learned, there was a leader in Michoacan where he's from, and he was he was a strong admirer of Fidel Castro in Cuba, so he tried to implement some of those politics on the local level in the areas of Michoacan where my dad grew up, and those just practicing those ways on the local level, it really improved the living collectively of the community that lived there. Because it was like, we have like some local leftist, redistribution of lands and wealth and shit like that. So, my dad saw and experienced how that type of world works better. Another world is possible than, just being wage slaves to capitalists,
Wow.
So yeah, man, things like that. But definitely, afterwards, it was the hip hop. It was Immortal Technique. It was Dead Prez.
Right.
And honestly, it was just looking up interviews of them on YouTube.
Yeah.
Look up an Immortal Technique interview, a Dead Prez interview, Talib Kweli. These guys are Chuck D. They're so educated, man. Like, so I learned through hip hop, which is a black art form. Of course, our Caribbean relatives also were there since the beginning. Boricuas and other Caribbean people. But yeah, man, it was hip hop. It was my father's, experience and knowledge of what he brought to the table, and just a very pro brown, pro Mexican, pro indigenous thought. Because I've always associated, being Mexican with being indigenous. That's just the way I see it. Because growing up, when people used to tell me, damn, dude, you look super Mexican, they would say it in a derogatory way to let me know that I look super indigenous,
Right.
Because I never saw them telling somebody that looks like Canelo Alvarez, oh, you look super Mexican,
Yeah.
Usually, when they used to tell me that, it was to kind of insult me. So I was always aware, bro, like carrying dark skin and looking like Sitting Bull or Red Cloud is, it's kind of like, okay, like, when they say you look very Mexican, what they mean is you look very indigenous, and it's not a good thing because it's we're oppressed and suppressed people, But yeah, man, I hope I answered your question a little bit.
No, yeah, no, that definitely did, bro. What do you call it? That's a very thorough upbringing, man. To know that at such a early age, man. So, That's shout out to your pops, bro. Shout out to your pops for giving you that game
Thank
so
you.
early on, bro. Yeah, man. No, I hear what you're saying, man. Looking super Mexican, cara de nopal. You know what I mean? Like that,
That's
all
right.
that,
Yeah.
bro. I got that a
Yes,
lot.
sir. Right. Yeah. Yeah,
I
man.
got
You
that
look
a lot.
like me, bro. So I
Yeah.
wouldn't doubt it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, bro. Okay, man. So I'm gonna just jump ahead just a little bit because I want to make sure folks get a chance to kind of enter into your musical realm. You know what I mean? And so
Sure.
the last project you did was Maria Seed in 2020. And so one thing that interests me when I was listening to it was asking, what piece of the puzzle to your artistry does that album, fit in, or what does it build upon? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So what I would say is it definitely kind of just, I want to say it gives you a trip into like my mind, my thought, the way I see the world, and what we're fighting, who we're fighting, and our experience. And I mentioned a lot of different backgrounds in there. Like I have songs where I'm mentioning Colombia,
Yeah.
mentioning Mexico, Paraguay, and that's done intentionally, bro, because
Right.
my intention is to unify our diaspora,
Mm-hmm.
beyond what our flags look like, because I see us as the same people because we are the same people, with
Right.
different experiences, obviously to a certain degree. However, we're under the same colonial boot, for the past 500 years. So,
That's right.
you know, I think Inspired to Inspire, which is the last track on my project, I kind of touch upon, like, I try to hit them from every corner, talking about how, there's the immigration, quote unquote, immigration crisis in the United States,
That's
however,
right.
we're not immigrants, we're not immigrants. We're migrants that we happen to look like Red Cloud,
Right.
you know, we happen to look like Crazy Horse. We happen to look like Sitting Bull, and we're, relabeled immigrants. We're relabeled foreigners on our own continent. So to me, that's that. I want to make my audience aware of that, and then some people. A lot of my audience that listens to my music, they're already, socially aware, consciously aware, to their own degrees. Everyone's at their own level, including myself.
Right.
I'm a work in progress myself. I'm learning all the time. So, yeah,
Yeah.
we're treated like a virus, and that was also a reference to, damn, I don't even know yeah, that was a reference in regards to, like, we're during the pandemic,
Right.
we're seen as undesirable because we look like the original people of this continent.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about the Jamestown settlement, because my music, my entire project, I am critical and militant about my thoughts about the United States and how it cages and enslaves the rest of the world.
Right.
So the United States started with the Jamestown settlement. So I try to a lot of fact checking. It's history, so like I have to
Right.
make sure what I'm saying is some real shit that can be like verified. I don't want anyone to Google Jamestown settlement and it ends up being something that's incorrect. So yeah, the Jamestown settlement is what the Pilgrims, quote unquote, founded, in North America, which would end up becoming the colonial United States.
Right.
But I also mentioned detribalized natives, right? In the
Right.
city, in the barrio, in the urban community, whether it's Riverside, Baltimore, Nueva York, Los Angeles, the Bay Area, anywhere, Riverside, San Bernardino. Those of us, when I say detribalized natives, I mean indigenous people. I mean the Hondurans. I mean the
That's right.
Chicanos, the Guatemaltecos living here in Riverside, living here in Rialto, in Pomona, and La Puente, wherever people are.
Mm-hmm.
We're detribalized natives. We've been removed from our heritage, and but we're still indigenous. We're still original people.
Yeah.
And we're recovering from cultural amnesia, is what I call it.
That's
Cultural
right.
amnesia, mestizo psychosis, which I heard my homie
Hmm.
Kimichipili, who's also a Purepecha from Venice. He's like a 5th generation Chicano from Venice, and
Hmm.
I heard him one time say mestizo psychosis. A lot of us have this this, we don't know what the hell we are, like we're so confused. That was done purposely by colonial forces, by those in the dominant society, where mestizaje was, where we were judged, colonial caste system built by white supremacists, judging us on degrees of whiteness. If we legitimize those labels, we legitimize that system that killed us. And you could be a full-blooded native person, speak your language, and then you move into a city in Mexico or in Peru or in Bolivia. You leave your traditional native community to move to the city to find a job. You learn Spanish, and all of a sudden you're now a mestizo, right? You're no longer what you truly are, right? A keeper, a steward of the land, a first person, a First Nation. So it's things like that, They may not seem important, to some people, but that's how you fight for your identity. That's how you fight to not get removed from the history books, because they removed us.
Right.
We were written out. We were made to look like we went extinct. In the 1500s, we didn't go extinct. We were just recategorized, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we still look like our ancestors, right? Some of us look different, right? Some of us look racially ambiguous. People may see us in the streets, are like, damn, I don't know what that person is.
Right.
I know he's not white, but he looks like different. All of us look different, bro. We got light-skinned natives. We got natives who are visibly black, because so many of our people are mixed with African as well. And we know that our African comrades, when they escaped slavery, they found refuge in our indigenous communities in Mesoamerica and South America. We took them in, and a lot of them, they became a part of our tribes, a part of our nations, regardless if they were mixed with native or not, because being native is being human. We didn't see ourselves. That's all native men, right? You look up any nation, Purepecha, all it means is the people, our people. You look up any indigenous, tribe, for the most part, what those nations meant, like their tribal name, it just means us, the common people, regular people, humans living, right?
Oh, that's game.
And so we definitely, we have so many Afro-Indigenous relatives all over Latin America, including Mexico, but because of the anti-blackness from, colonial forces in, and also the Republic of Mexico it's not friendly to black people. Those in the dominant society, the criollos that run it, Mexican colonial society has not been friendly to black people the same way it hasn't been friendly to indigenous people,
Right.
But we're recovering. This is how we recover, bro, through education, through podcasts like what you're doing, your projects, your journalism, whether people do music, they paint, they sing, they draw, they dance, they share a presentation at a college, or fuck a college. If they share a presentation in the neighborhood, for the community at the park, right?
Right.
These things are what's going to help us recover, and just lay down these foundations so that we can move forward. And ultimately, that's what I try to do in Maria's Seed. Maria, that's the name of my mom. So I wanted to, give, show my love. I'm her child, I'm her seed. But I also understand that in our communities, a lot of us have moms that are named Maria, or grandma, or tia, right? It's a very common name in our communities.
Yeah.
And, also, a lot of people see Guadalupe as, I have mixed responses from, my comrades about Guadalupe, whether she was colonial or whether, it was, she was,
a symbol,
a symbol, a spirit that our people held on to as a disguise to save our ways.
Right.
So that, because you go to Mexico, bro, and some people believe in Guadalupe, but they legit don't believe in Jesus.
Right.
It's almost like it's its own culture, it's its own faith,
right.
The Guadalupe faith, and I've wrote essays about this, bro, and one day I'll share them, but again, Maria, Maria Guadalupe, that's a lot of our mom's names, a lot of our tia's names, cousins, primas, everybody got prima named Maria, right? Lupe. So yeah, I wanted to shout out my mom, and again, I purposely present myself as everybody, Colombian,
Yeah.
Paraguayo, Guatemalan, Salvi, etc., Mexican,
Yeah.
Chicano, indigenous, because at the end of the day, if me and you were stranded somewhere and we were in a settler community, a white community, and we're looking for refuge, and we're in Arizona, we'd probably go to a res. We'd probably
Right.
find
Right.
refuge in a res because those are our
True.
people, right?
Right.
Those are our people. If we're in New York, we might go with our Caribbean relatives, right? Or our Dominican relatives, Boricua relatives. If in Jersey, I know I have some Peruvian family in Jersey that fucks with my music.
That's cool.
I'd be over there in one of their communities, if they're, because I see us as the same, our foods are sometimes similar, we look similar, that's for sure, so
Right.
those are our people. So I intentionally, when I make my music, sometimes people are like, hey bro, are you Mexican or are you
Yeah.
indigenous to, like, where are you from? Like, I've had
Yeah.
people think I was indigenous to Canada, just I say
Oh,
First Nations
gotcha.
all the time. So I do that purposely, because I explain. So I come from Mexican background, I come from Mexican heritage, Chicano, indigenous, native,
Mhm.
but I intentionally say all these other terms not to confuse people, but to kind of just let it be known that we're the same, right? That you
Yeah.
wouldn't be able to tell me apart, from a person of First Nations or a person of indigenous South America, because we're the same people,
Yeah.
First people, Turtle Island, Abya Yala,
Yeah.
the turtle, like the we're the people that Christopher Columbus wrote about in his journal, when he arrived
Right.
over here, We're the people with the long hair, we're the people with the brown skin, And again, it look different because of our experience with colonialism. However, to me, a native is a native, whether you're light skinned, whether you're visibly black, if you identify with us, you're us,
Right.
So yeah, that's how I see that, brother.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy too, man. That's why I didn't want to assume you were a Chicano, you know what I mean? Because I was like, or Mexican, because I was
Right.
like, I was hearing all these, these areas, and I was like, I'm pretty sure he's doing it on purpose, but I'm like, I don't want to assume, you know what I mean? So,
Right. No, I hear that. Yeah, for sure, for sure.
no, no, that was cool, man. And it does make a lot of sense, man. Bringing that all together for a lot of different folks, and I hope you reach, you're getting there with your reach too, because I can definitely see folks from all those areas, identifying with your music like that. I wanted to
Definitely.
go over some of your lyrics too, man, because your lyrics are really deep, man, and I know for a lot of these interviews and stuff like that, it's good. I think it's good to kind of showcase, specific parts of your music. You have a song in your project Maria C that it's called Accidental Deaths, and you can finish off where I leave off, but you say my
Sure.
story don't end where colonial walls begin. No access to the fascists. All my texting is encrypted.
Yes. So yeah, I say the science of ballistics, the First Nations code, no
Hmm.
conversations on the phone, pressure I apply para guay mi raíz. I'm
Yeah.
cold, hungry, and so fatigued, but the ones in the trenches are the last
Last
to
E,
eat.
which is hard.
Um,
That's such a hard last line. I like that.
Appreciate that. Thank you,
Yeah,
brother.
man.
Yeah, so I put a lot of thought, man, a lot of effort, a lot of heart, a lot of spirit, energy, whatever people believe in. They believe in spirit, energy, vibes,
Hmm.
intuition, whatever people, worldview is or faith.
Hmm.
I just, put a lot of effort. What I mean when I say, some of those things is, um, uh, the beginning part. What is it?
My
Can you repeat that first,
yeah,
first
my
bar?
story don't end where colonial walls begin. No access to the facts. Just all my texting is encrypted.
Right. Okay. So our story, mine, yours, our migrant neighbor from Nicaragua, our stories don't end. You know, our journey. Our experience. It doesn't end when they built these colonial walls, bro. These are brand new. Like,
Hmm.
another world existed before this.
Right. Right.
Another world existed before they built the frontera falsa, right? Like our Chicano nationalist comrades say, the frontera es falsa, right? Whether it's in Arizona, Texas, California,
Hmm.
which are all indigenous lands. Before it belonged to the Republic of Mexico, it was Tongva, Kumeyaay, Cahuilla. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
right.
Apache, all that. Like we always recognize the first peoples, but we also understand that, at a certain point, there was indigenous Mexicanos here living too, man. Like, like detribalized natives that were from Mexico, who ended up becoming foreigners in a place that they have been living for a long ass time already, because we are also along with our tribal first people from California, we're the first people from lower, from Mesoamerica, Central Mexico, all that. So when they built these borders, that doesn't mean our story ends, We're still here. We're still fighting back. We're still, organizing, mobilizing, revolutionizing, decolonizing, right? Removing colonialism, so that everyone's housed, everyone's fed, everyone's clothed, right?
Right.
It makes no sense, bro, that, we didn't have a homeless population before, colonizers arrived. We didn't have people sleeping outside of buildings, freezing to death because, they're sleeping outside of a building and there's a bunch of buildings available that are empty, homes that are empty all over this country, right?
Right.
But people sleep outside because they gotta, like those homes don't belong to them, right? Those homes belong to the capitalists.
Right.
So, like homelessness didn't exist, racism didn't exist, and I'll say there was classism, to a certain degree, depending, right? But I always remind people, not all of our societies were warring societies.
That's right.
Not all of our societies were empires. They were sacrificing each other and killing each other anyway. Those are lies that the white man constantly says to justify genocide, land theft, ethnocide, linguicide, deportations, the installing colonial borders to separate us, right? These are all lies that they say, bro, to justify the shit that their ancestors did and the shit that they, continue to do. And even if they specifically don't do it, they're still part of a collective group that has the power in society, right? They control the institutions, they control these systems, and those, white people that don't do anything about it, they're complacent and they're just as guilty. You know what I'm saying? So
that's right.
We need comrades. We need allies. I have a lot of white comrades that are, anti-colonial, anti-fascist. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But to get back to those lyrics, to those bars about that, yeah, our story will never end just because they installed the European colonial borders. We're still here. We're still indigenous. That line is related to our heritage as Native people. Whether you're disconnected and all you know is English or all you know is Spanish and all you've known is Christianity and Catholicism, regardless, those genetic codes exist within your molecules. They exist within your biology, your anatomy, it's somewhere in your mind. You just haven't unlocked it yet. And again, you're a first person. No access for the fascists. When anti-fascist. Again, I'm soy un izquierdista. I'm anti-colonial. So, learning a little bit about security culture and community organizing. I'm around comrades that are 1,000 times more involved in the fight in the trenches than I am. Everyone does their part, and they kind of educated me about security culture, like texting, having encrypted. Shit. Honestly, you don't want to be that guy that has a fucking gallery in your phone of all these zines about how to unhandcuff yourself, and then the pigs arrest you. And there you go, they have all the evidence they need, or, that in their mind that they need to fucking throw all these crunked up charges on you. So, encrypting your texting, turning your phones off completely, putting them in a different room while you're having conversations about organizing and mobilizing, what you're going to do. You don't want to give the state any kind of hints of what you're about to do. If you're going to go, if the homies down the street are planning to bring down a statue or some shit, you don't want to be talking about that on through texting, through anything like that. And obviously that's like a minor degree of those are just small
Right.
things that contribute to a bigger outcome. Like taking down statues, fucking blocking freeways, all that shit. All that shit is necessary. Like
Right.
we're not gonna get anywhere by marching on sidewalks with signs with a city permit. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
Like if we ask for their permission, like it won't work that way. These are people that kill people, that put dictators all over the world.
That's
They
right.
don't give a fuck about your protests on the sidewalks that you ask the city for permission. Like these people torture people all over the world. They torture political prisoners like Orlando Watley. They
Mm-hmm.
torture political prisoners like Leonard Peltier.
That's right.
You're of no concern to them. If all you're doing is through their laws, through their colonial laws that they set up,
Mm-hmm.
that's why these nonprofits do what they do, bro, because they get permission from the state.
That's right.
They're financed by the state. And they
Yeah.
use these same nonprofits to try to overthrow revolutionary leadership in Cuba and Venezuela, places like that. So, Bolivia, and more recently, even Mexico, with AMLO there, it's
Mm-hmm.
different. I won't speak on, too much about what he's doing, but I know that there is very high degrees of leftist action going on through his leadership.
Right.
And I celebrate that. I remind people, security culture is very important to whatever degree of activism you're involved in.
Right.
And again, I have an Instagram following. I have supporters and shit like that. I
Right.
would never post anything that incriminates me or anything like that, or incriminates others. To me, security culture is important. And again, I learned that through my comrades that are out there in the trenches that that are moving in different ways that I am. So no access to the fascists. The fascists ain't gonna be able to see our shit
Right.
because it's encrypted.
Yeah. Well, I'll pause right there, bro, because I think you're getting to the point right there, because what I definitely want folks like who like are just getting into your music too is like to understand that it's like a whole world with your music, you know what I mean? And like anybody who's organizing, like you say, anybody who's organized, anybody who's doing any mobilization, like they know. But also like if you're new to it, like you're kind of taking them by storm, like you know what I mean? Like they got to learn quick, you know what I mean? And so
Right,
that's
right.
just kind of the impression, because I'm like, man, from my background and stuff like that, I'm like, yeah, I can definitely see this. But for somebody who's maybe come into that world, it also kind of reminds me of like previous artists who I've listened to who I've never known what their back. Like if you listen to Wu-Tang Clan, you're not gonna know like 5% talk or anything like that. You know what I mean? You're not gonna
Right,
necessarily know
right,
what God is, what supreme mathematics
right.
are, but
Yeah.
you get into that world real quick because the style is just so dope, man. So that's kind of what your music just reminds me of, you know what I mean, a little bit. It's like this world that you're giving them that, you just got to learn quick, man. That's what it is for me, you know.
And I'm definitely inspired by the 5% Nation.
Right.
A lot of their philosophies,
Mm-hmm.
things like that. I don't need to agree with every single leader, movement, activist, a person in history, or but I can celebrate. I can take, not take, but respectfully use the gems that they provide.
Right.
Again, like the 5% Nation of Islam, anybody that I've learned from. And again, a lot of my education into this has been through hip hop. So it has been from a very African perspective, a pro-black perspective.
That's
A lot
right.
of the speakers I would listen to were black, man. And you know what? I got to a certain point, I was like, damn, like let me actually find some speakers or revolutionary people with revolutionary thoughts that are from my background.
Right.
Just it's important, right? It's
Right.
important. I know that I've learned so much about my black comrades who were side by side. Who we were in chains together.
Mm-hmm.
Let me dig up, the Rodolfo, the Jorge Gonzalez,
Yep. Sir.
our leaders that helped us achieve what we achieved. Reyes Lopez Tijerina,
Of course.
all of our comrades, man, that literally sacrificed their lives for this. So yeah, I
That's
appreciate that, bro. Definitely.
Yeah, bro. And so, just gonna skip ahead just a little bit, bro. But I wanna talk about, like, what are some of your next things? What can the people be kind of looking out for? I know you just drop that song, that 909.
I did drop that 909 song. It's one of my personal favorite from my catalog of what I have thus far.
Mm-hmm.
It's just rapping all the way through, just spitting and shit, from front to back. Have a Dr. Khalid Muhammad sample in the beginning, him speaking,
That's right.
and just my homie Akasa the Man, who's a Riverside, grown person. He's from Riverside. That's my dude right there. Good people. He
Right, bro.
produced that joint for me. He produces a lot for me. His brother named Rojos produced a lot for me too. He's from Denver, Colorado. My bro Listrado, he's a Brazilian indigenous brother. He produces for me as well. But as far as projects, man, I'm looking to drop another solo video.
Nice.
We have another music video coming with Native Threat. I'm part of a hip hop duo for the listeners that are listening. Part of a hip hop duo called Cosmic Force, KOZMIK Force. And shout out to my brother Native Threat. We got a music video coming out too with a brother named Complex from a hip hop duo called Indigenous Cats. So it's y'all can look out for that. We have a Cosmic Force project that we're also working on, album. And I won't be dropping an album for a cool little minute just because I'm a little bit busy and tied up with the Cosmic Force music right now.
Mm-hmm.
However, I do drop singles. I drop one single a month, more so.
Nice.
I drop at least one song, a brand new song every month. That was my goal when 2021 started. I said, you know what, I'm going to drop a song every single month this year.
That's dope.
And, I've committed to it. They're all on my Spotify. They're on Apple Music. They're on YouTube. I'm also on SoundCloud. You guys can check me out right there. Jag, J-A-G, Arreola, A-R-R-E-O-L-A. All my my catalog's on there, man. I put a lot of effort into it. Just trying to create timeless art that, inspires people, motivates people, to survive and do more than survive. You be anti-colonial, be anti-imperialist, love everybody, because at the end of the day, the revolutionary is guided by love. Che Guevara said it. It's love. We care. We want everyone. We want everyone living good. We don't want people controlling our lives. We don't want to have any colonial boots on our necks anymore. And we want it's a people's army, people's struggle. Whether you're Asian, black, white, Caribbean, whatever you are, man. We're human beings, and if we don't abolish capitalism, we go extinct. Our Earth Mother goes extinct with us too, and our relatives that swim, our relatives with feathers, our relatives, with four legs, they go extinct as well, and we're all related. So, I think beyond all the cultural empowerment shit, the flags that we wave, at the end of the day, we're just standing monkeys that are shaven, bro, that are really groomed. At the end of the day, we're part of this planet, and we're part of these, of the ecosystem.
That's
just like any of our relatives, So I think that's the most important thing at the end of the day, bro. Is we all want food, clothing, shelter. It's like the 12 jewels of Islam, which is from I believe the 5% Nation. Food, clothing, shelter, freedom, justice, equality, peace, love, and happiness. I know I'm missing some of them, but those jewels we need. You can't have one without the other, man. Like in this world, You gotta have shelter. You gotta have food, clothing, freedom, justice, equality for everyone.
That's hard, man.
And that's the promise that America never. That was their claim, right? That was what they put on paper. But we knew it was false from the beginning because they left us out and they built their settlement, their illegal colonial system, over our people. So we don't ever celebrate that. I can only think of how many times the American flag has been waved up in the air in victory overseas, over the bodies of civilians, Arab civilians, Asian civilians, anybody, Vietnam, Afghanistan, Iraq. Shout out to the people of Afghanistan. That's the that's an American graveyard, straight up.
Right.
That's an imperialist graveyard. That's shout out to the revolutionary people of Afghanistan.
Yeah.
We care about you, and we know that the illegal occupation that the United States has been there for 20 years. We know that it didn't do shit for you guys. We never
That's
believed
right.
the lies about your people because we know the lies that the colonizers say about everybody because they say them about us.
Right. Yeah, that's right, bro. We didn't seen it before.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we didn't see it before. No, I appreciate that, man. Man, the game is so deep, bro. And you know what I mean? I'm so happy, bro. It's such an honor to have you as the first guest on this podcast, on this blog. And everybody, you know what I mean? Like anybody looking forward, the listeners or whatever, you know what I mean? Like this is really a good context into the Chicano mindset, into the indigenous resistance mindset, which, I think permeates throughout all of our music, even if you're talking about some of the most, chill vibe music. You know what I mean? The Chicano is somebody who's situated in a way where politics is kind of inherent to the way they live, man, because that's what's brought upon us from the get go. So man,
Right.
thank you again, bro. You know what I mean. Thank you so much for joining me on this call, bro. And yeah, you let everybody know who what your next step was, and I hope, man, that this was you got to kind of reach the people a little bit.